It's Tuesday. It's actually only 3 o'clock, and the reason I'm out in the shed now is because we've had a power cut for most of the day. It's fixed now, but there's a power pole there, and last night the power glitched about 9 o'clock. Didn't really think much of it, but it turns out that was 2 of the power lines there falling down, and they were lying across my neighbour's driveway, and he discovered them. They were still live, they were arcing on the ground, but they didn't actually come out to fix it until about lunchtime today, at which point they switched off the power at the power pole just down the road, which took all our power down. So we've been without power for a while, and I had to ration my work laptop and my phone for internet so the battery didn't go flat. So I went to one meeting, and then I shut everything down, and I was waiting to go back, because otherwise everything just goes flat within about 2 hours. But anyway, I took the opportunity to cut the grass and come out and look at this, and I've read through all the comments. Thanks to everyone who left suggestions. They're all helpful because it makes me think about things, and I think a few people pointed it out. I'm pretty much now certain the problem is the points. They were working at one point, just not very well. I also went through the ignition timing, and I had that set wrong. It was correct on one cylinder, but was too far advanced on the other. I actually found a better manual, more of a factory service manual, and that lays out a better procedure for testing the points gap using a light bulb, which is what I did. And that worked a lot better. It's very fiddly because you have to set the gap and then you have to set the advance, and the two impact each other. So you get one set, you tweak it, and the other one goes out of whack. And you have to get 2 sets of points working because it's a 180-degree crank. So you need 1 set of points for each cylinder. But the fact the power's only just come back on, so I was out here working in the dark. I actually took the left-hand points off because what I found was the left-hand points weren't really sparking. They would spark when you kicked it over, so you could get a weak spark, but as soon as it was running at speed, it wasn't sparking. And we'd seen that because one of the pipes was cold, it was backfiring every so often, and I actually hooked my timing light up to it, which I've disconnected, and you could see it was not firing regularly, whereas the other cylinder was. I swapped over the coils and the connections and still had the same problem. Doing that eliminates the coils themselves, the capacitors, which I've also measured and they're correct, and I also swapped over the spark plugs, and that still didn't make a difference. I also when I got the timing correct, the bike was much easier to start. It would start almost first time. I also tried swapping over the carburetors from the originals back to the replicas, and they both worked the same, and I still had the problem of one cylinder not firing. So that ruled out the coils, the capacitors, the spark plugs, and the carburetors. I know the valve timing is correct because I checked that last time. I know if all the valve clearances are correct because I've rechecked those. The only thing left that was common on that cylinder is the points. So I ended up taking those off today, and because it was dark in here, I took them out into the sunlight to have a close look at them, and yeah, they were super pitted, like really bad. So I think that's what the problem is. I think they're also worn because I ran out of adjustment, basically. I could not get... I could only just get, you can see this plate is all the way around. It adjusted so that you have these firing at top dead center, not at top dead center, at the F mark on the little plate, and having more or less the correct gap. The gap has to be between 0.3 and 0.4 of a millimeter. I'm on 0.3. So I'm pretty sure these points are just completely worn out. I believe, as well as pitting here, of course, they'll wear out here where they rub on the cam. There's not much you can do about that. So now that I've finally isolated the problem, I did give those points a really good file, and I've got it to the point where one cylinder kind of fires every so often, So it was better, but not firing accurately. It was still backfiring. I had a look for points, and luckily the same place I got the dowels from have them locally. As far as I can tell, that's the only place you can get them locally. Otherwise I would have had to have got them from eBay. The points used on this bike are also used on Suzuki and Kawasaki bikes. The points are known as K83, and there's a left and a right hand point. So they are available. From the UK it was ridiculous, one place selling them. I think it was £25 for the set of points, which is like 50 New Zealand dollars, which is basically what I paid for a set of points here, which is fine. But they also wanted 20 something pound for shipping. The cheapest place I found was in Germany, of all places, where it was £15 for a set of points and £5 for the postage, or £6. So just getting stuff from overseas is so expensive now. But I've ordered those points. They are on the way. The capacitor's fine. I've also ordered new original grips, because this one's ripping on the end. It's kind of sticky. And I got the left one as well because I could. They weren't expensive. So those parts are on the way. I'm probably going to put... no, I'll probably just leave these carbs on here for now. The difference between these carburetors and the originals, the two main differences I've noticed. One, there's no adjustment here. So if I need to adjust the mid-range throttle to get them synchronized, there's no way to do it. I suspect the original carb tops will fit these, so if I need to do that, I could do that. The other difference is in the throttle, the choke plate. So on these original ones, you can see the choke plate, it actually has a little sprung door, this little flap, and the reproductions don't have that. So I don't know what that would do. I've seen similar on later SU carbs, and it was an emission thing. They call them poppet valves, and I think it's something to do with when the throttle closes, it lets some air through, so you don't suddenly pull a massive vacuum. I believe it's some sort of emissions thing. They often suggest just soldering those up, soldering them closed. So I may put the original carbs back on eventually. We'll see. Just because it'd be nice to use the original carbs. This throttle, this choke plate, this is why you can't mix them up. They're a pair. They go like this. And I believe that's why these have these adjustments, so you can actually synchronize the throttle pull. Whereas those knockoff carbs, they're not sold as a pair. You have to buy two single ones, which is why they each have their own little choke lever and they don't have that adjustment. So this may be important once I get it running. So it's just a matter of waiting now for those parts. They'll probably take a few days to arrive. I've paid for them and they've packed them, they said. So I'm hoping that will solve the problem and let me set the timing. Everything else should be fine. But fingers crossed, that will be it. The other thing is I got the little seat bag because I realized there's no storage on bikes. There is the little tiny toolkit inside there, but I'd rather want to carry a few more tools, I think. I stuck my L plate on there. It's just stuck on with industrial Velcro for now, because there was nowhere else to attach it. There's a hole, but there's nothing to bolt it to without it getting in the way. Everything's done up tight. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm not sure, am I confident enough to put the fuel tank back on, ready for when these new points arrive? No, I think I'll leave it like this for now. I've re-torqued up the pillion pegs and the foot pegs. Retorqued all the engine settings, engine bolt things, I mean. Like I say, I checked the capacitors, they're fine. And hopefully that will be it.